Get a chair, grab a seat, or we'll sweep you off your feet. We move, we groove, you got Mel. Ease your legs, rest a while, all you gotta do is smile. We're swell, can't you tell, you got Mel. When the show begins, you better hold on real tight, or before you know it, you'll be high as a kite. Take a break, settle down, we're the only show in town. SRO, don't you know, you got Mel. Give it up, don't think twice, we're a hurricane on ice. What the hell, give a yell, ring your bell, show and tell. Mademoiselle, give a smell, you got Mel.
You've got Mel. Hello again. לעוד תוכנית בסדרה You've got Mel. איתי באולפן היום אורח מיוחד במינו, שהוא מיוחד במינו, דוקטור דיוויד גרייבס.
שלום, שלום.
ואנחנו עדיין מתחבטים אם לערוך את השיחה באנגלית או בעברית, אז נחליט בהמשך. והמפיק שלנו, מפיק חדש עבורי, Welcome to You've Got Mel, מר יונה לדור. You're supposed to say hello.
Can I? Am I supposed to?
Yeah.
Hello.
כן, אתה אמור להשתתף לפעמים.
אני מדבר גם אנגלית ועברית, אז נסתדר, בסדר גמור.
אבל אנחנו יכולים לעשות גם בצרפתית.
אז count me out.
Ok, bonjour לכולם, comment ça va? Monsieur le docteur David Graves, c'est un grand plaisir. Ça fait un grand plaisir pour moi.
Is that a fat joke?
David.
Yes.
Dr. David Graves. That's the last time I'm going to call you doctor today.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to do it in Hebrew or English?
English.
English today?
That's the way it's going.
It's going in English.
Yes.
Okay. If you had a virtual business card, I know you don't, but if you did,
Yes.
what would be on it?
David Graves, professional bullshit artist.
Professional bullshit artist that you
Yes.
forgot the PhD.
Well, yeah, at the end, yes.
Or what we call
That's a professional.
NARD.
What's NARD?
Not a real doctor.
Oh, not a real. Okay, yes.
Okay, join the club. And we're going to talk about lots of things today. Academia, aesthetics, rock and roll, and life. אנחנו צריכים לדבר על התוכנית. התוכנית You've Got Mel משודרת כל שבת ב-3 בצהריים בתחנה של IDC שהוא
106.2 FM, כמובן.
ובאינטרנט?
באינטרנט 102 FM. 106.2 FM.co.il.
לא, אבל זה 102.6, לא? זה בלי נקודה. נוזים נקודה.
בלי נקודה. 106.2 FM.co.il.
נכון, ובפייסבוק ב-You've Got Mel, ואפשר לטווטר אותי. לטווטר?
טוויטר.
To tweet in Hebrew.
Tweet you.
לטטר. אפשר לטטר אותי במל רוזנברג, ואנחנו חוזרים לתוכנית. David, I've been waiting for months to interview you. You're one of the דמויות ססגוניות בארץ. How do we translate that into English? A very sasgoni personality, because you're not only an academic figure, and you have quite a figure, you're also...
Is that a fat joke?
No, there's no fat jokes today.
Okay.
I'm not that skinny, and there's no fat jokes today. Okay, and we're going to talk about, of course, rock and roll, and our love for rock and roll.
Yes.
It's been very hard to track you down lately because you're performing so much.
Yes.
Where are you performing?
Well, I've got a few things that I've been doing lately. The more exciting, or the most exciting, was that my band was the warm-up band for Deep Purple at Caesarea.
Yes, how do things like that happen?
I have no idea. I still don't know how it happened. We were told...
He's still asking himself.
We were told 2 weeks in advance that we were warming up Deep Purple when they come to Israel. And I said, when? They said, they don't know. And I said, okay, how do we get there? They said, I don't know. And I said, okay, who do I go see? And they said, we don't know. And this went on for 2 weeks until the day of the show. The day of the show... Scout's honor. I just got in my car with my kids and I drove to Caesarea.
Yeah.
Okay. And I didn't know what the hell, I didn't know who to ask for. I just went there and I said, listen, I'm the Lakat Chimum, I'm the warm-up band. And they told me where to go. And that was it. I mean, I think anybody could have come off the streets and say they're the warm-up band and they'd find themselves in front of 4,000 people in Caesarea, which I did.
You didn't call me.
Didn't call, you were abroad.
Ah, okay.
You were abroad.
So you're off the hook.
Yes, I am.
But I don't do that kind of rock that you guys do.
No, you do more 60s rock and I'm more into 70s rock.
Okay, so the name of your band that warmed up...
That was Kaved Katzutz, chopped liver.
That's chopped liver.
Yes.
Okay, and you also have some recordings. You've recorded an album.
Yeah, well, no, not with them. With them, we do only covers. For example, in Caesarea, we did King Crimson songs for them.
Okay.
And one original song from the second thing, which I'm into now, which is it's a musical show called Uri Menagen Bakikar.
Mm-hmm.
And we've done it a few times at Teatron Tmuna.
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically a musical story about a high-techer who is sick of the rat race.
Mm-hmm.
And all he wants to do is quit and play the blues. And one day he gets fired. He's 50 years old and gets fired. And he finds himself on the street, and he's doing exactly what he wants to do.
Yafe.
And that's what the story's about.
So there's a moral here.
Yes, definitely.
Are you 50 years old?
I am.
But you're not unemployed yet.
Not yet.
However, at the end of this program, you might be.
I've done worse.
Okay, so why don't you get your axe in hand?
Okay.
You play a Fender fretted bass. And I have a lousy classic guitar here, but we'll do our best. And what do you want to start with? You want to start with Peter, Paul, and Mary, Jet Plane?
Yes.
Okay, we should say that this is actually a John Denver song, right? Is it not?
I think it is. I don't know. Everybody does this song, including us.
Yeah, everybody does this song, including us, and we're going to do it. And Yona, this is a song from when your parents were infants. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, my bags are packed, ready to go. I'm standing here outside your door. I hate to wake you up to say goodbye, but the dawn is breaking, it's early morn. Taxi's waiting, he's blowing his horn. Already I'm so lonesome I could die. So kiss me and smile for me. Tell me that you'll wait for me. Hold me like you'll never let me go. 'Cause I'm leaving on a jet plane. Don't know when I'll be back again. Oh babe, I hate to go. There's so many times I've let you down. So many times I played around. I tell you now, they don't mean a thing. Every place I go, I think of you. Every song I sing, I'll sing for you. When I come back, I'll wear your wedding ring. So kiss me and smile for me. Tell me that you'll wait for me. Hold me like you'll never let me go. 'Cause I'm leaving on a jet plane. Don't know when I'll be back again. Oh babe, I hate to go. Now the time has come to leave you. One more time, let me kiss you. Close your eyes, I'll be on my way. Dream about the days to come, when I won't have to leave alone. About the time I won't have to say. So kiss me and smile for me. Tell me that you'll wait for me. Hold me like you'll never let me go. 'Cause I'm leaving on a jet plane. Don't know when I'll be back again. Leaving on a jet plane. Don't know when I'll be back again. Oh babe, I hate to go. Yeah.
Very nice.
Thank you. That was David Graves on the Fender bass. Okay, so tell us a few words about your profession when you're not playing, when you're not warming up for
About the
Deep
doctor
Purple.
part.
Exactly.
Well, actually, I'm a philosopher. As strange as that sounds, there still are philosophers. No, Yona just choked. Okay.
One second. Yona, you study here, right, at the IDC?
I just finished my degree
In what?
in communications.
Mm-hmm. They don't teach philosophy here, right?
I'm a self-made philosopher myself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, but you don't have the foot at the end, like he does.
What do you
The
mean?
FUD.
The foot, PhD.
No.
But he has a foot, so he's a philosopher with a pedigree.
Well, actually,
A pedigree.
Yeah, a pedigree. Well, that's what my academic profession is philosophy, and my specialty is philosophy of art.
Mm-hmm.
That's because I got to the whole thing through painting.
You were a
Strangely
painter?
enough, I was a painter, and when I retire, I will be a painter again.
Okay, because my house is in bad shape, and how much do you take for
That's
each
going
room?
to cost you. Forget
I'm
painting.
in
your
big
house.
trouble now.
That's going to cost.
Okay, you're an artist painter.
Yes.
Okay, not a house painter. Okay.
Well, when I was 5 years old, I started, so it's kind of hard to call me an artist at 5 years old, or at 21 in my case. I didn't know what the hell was going on.
Well, you know what an artist is at 5?
What?
It's someone who paints outside the lines of the picture.
There are lines in the
Through
picture?
them. Exactly.
Oh, okay. When I was 21, I finished the army. I had my first exhibition, and I thought it was God's gift to humanity. And I knew something was wrong. I just didn't know what. And a very famous painter who I greatly admired, Eric Brauer, he's an Israeli painter who works in Vienna. He was in Israel at the time, and I asked him to come over and look at my work. And he looked at my work, and I asked him, what's wrong with me?
Mm-hmm.
And he says, it's quite obvious. It's not that you don't know how to paint. I mean, I've been painting since I was 5. He says, you don't know why. And it kind of struck me. I stopped. What do you mean, why? So he says, you don't know why to paint.
What kind of a
Yeah,
question
what kind
is
of
why?
Right. What? And he says, that's exactly your problem. You don't know what for. You don't know what painting's for. You don't know what art is for. You don't know anything about art at all. Nothing. And this is weird. I was really taken aback because my father was an opera singer. My mother's a ballet dancer. I grew up in an artistic house. And this guy comes along and he tells me that I don't know the first thing about art. And I said, okay, so where do you learn this sort of thing? And he says, I'll tell you, but you probably won't believe me. And he was right. He told me philosophy, and I didn't believe him.
Mm-hmm.
But I tried it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it. I was smitten.
And you went to our alma mater?
And I went to our alma mater, Tel Aviv University, and I studied philosophy.
In which years?
81. I started in 81.
Was that post-Croy?
That was post-Croy, yes.
Now everything is post-Croy.
Yeah, that was post-Croy, yes. The department was very
Because
diverse.
I studied philosophy in the mid-'70s with Croy
With Croy.
and with Dan Ben Amotz walking barefoot around the campus. And that was my Tel Aviv dream. You know, I had this vision of a wonderful university where people could walk barefoot, and it was really cool. In the 70s, it was really cool, the university. And you went there in 81.
In 81. It was still pretty cool. It was okay. I was sort of like, I think in the end, things got worse after that.
After you
when I
started
left,
coming.
yeah, when I left, for some strange reason, the university was never the same.
Talk about small egos.
Where?
Yeah, exactly. So, egos, yeah. So you did your PhD in the philosophy department.
Yes. Asa Kasher was and still is my mentor.
Okay.
And it turns out that that artist friend, and he was right. Philosophy was the answer to all the questions that bothered me about what is art, why is art, what do we do it for, what's good about it, anything we wanted to know.
Okay, so can you do the philosophy 101 and tell us why art in like 90 seconds?
Probably I could, but I'd do it from my point, from my perspective.
Only from your perspective.
My perspective is what's called the institutional perspective.
Okay.
I think that when we look, we want to understand art, and we start looking at paintings, which is what we usually do, we're making a mistake. Because what makes a painting art isn't in the painting.
It isn't in the painting.
Right. So look at the painting all you want, you're not going to find what's artistic about it. In order to find out what's artistic about a painting, you have to look around the painting. You have to look at its cultural context. And when you look at its cultural context, then you see that art is actually a cultural institution. That's what it is. It's a set of rules. It's like a game, a big game we play. And in this game, one person creates an artifact or something that he thinks is very meaningful. And he has to show it to other people to see if they get the meaning. And we play this game, people making these meaningful artifacts and showing them to other people to see if they get it. And in this way, people are trying to say things that they cannot say just with words. They basically try to say what's not sayable. In philosophy, we call it the ineffable. And that's the heart and soul of art.
A sign of our times.
Today, I think it's going to be... Actually, I do think it's a sign of our times. That's why people are very interested in art nowadays. They feel intuitively that science, to a certain degree, has said what it can say and is sort of like reaching its limits. I mean, if you take a look at technological developments outside of information technology, if we take a look at cars, okay, we're still basically driving on the same technology we drove 100 years ago. Technology hasn't advanced that much. Now it's starting again. But, I mean, when I was a kid growing up in Memphis, Tennessee, I thought that when I was an adult, I'd have a jet car. Okay? I didn't get my jet car. I thought that we'd be living, in some futuristic society with robots and things like that, and that didn't happen. Okay, so in a sense, people are starting to think that maybe science is finding its place and its limitations, and we're starting to look at what's not there, at what science cannot help us with. And art would be one of the first.
Now, one second, I have to stop you here. You're saying what science cannot help us with today.
Yeah.
But someday there will be jet cars.
I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know.
No, I'm counting on it. I want to hang around until that happens.
That would be cool, but I don't know how much cooler that would be than a 1963 Thunderbird.
Yeah, okay.
But I don't know.
But I think that Yona, you look like a technological person. Definitely within 10 or 20 years, you will just get into a car and it will know where you're going. And it'll take you there.
I hope it will take me there. Okay.
I don't know whether it'll take us there, but
whatever the case may be with technology, we're coming around to the realization that science handles certain things and cannot handle other things. Now, if you want to be dramatic about it, and I will be dramatic about it, I'm going to make it real big. Science cannot handle quality.
Okay.
It cannot handle quality. If something is good or bad, okay, in anything other than a functional sense, science can't handle it.
Of course not.
Okay? Now we thought we might be able to get away with it.
That's what makes science so containable.
Perhaps, which is good. I have no problems with that. None whatsoever. Science can go on to cure diseases.
It makes it very easy to be a scientist, by the way, which is probably why I'm a scientist, or I was. Because when you go into the world of art, okay, so let's tell us when we've talked for about 20 or 30 minutes. So here you go. Okay, if art is an institutional function, which you claim that it is, okay, then I have to have protects, I have to have pull, and then as soon as my show is in the museum, I become art, and my story becomes the story.
Yes.
Is what you're saying?
No, that's not what I'm saying. That's a byproduct of what I'm saying.
If my daddy runs MoMA, then I become an artist.
No, because you're misunderstanding what an institution is.
Of course I am.
Okay? An institution isn't MoMA. MoMA is an establishment within the institution of art. MoMA is supposed to be the Museum of Modern Art. Actually, the museum itself is supposed to be an auxiliary institution to help the institution of art. The institution of art is not a place. It's not a group of people. The institution of art is like other institutions, like the institution of marriage. It's a set of rules, okay? Therefore, it has nothing to do with people. It has nothing to do with artifacts. It has nothing to do with what's hanging on the wall. It has to do with how you practice whatever you do, what kind of art you do, in accordance with the rules of the practice, okay?
Okay, so we're going to talk about MoMA for a minute, and then we're going to play a song.
Okay.
So people like me, Neanderthal people like me who love Impressionists because they can look at the picture, okay? And then they go upstairs or downstairs, I can't remember.
Makes no difference.
No, in the MoMA.
Yeah.
It's either upstairs or downstairs. It's one of them. And then they see the Pollocks and they say, what in the name of
Yes.
is that?
Yes.
Who decided that was art?
That's not the right question to ask.
Okay, so
Because
what's the
it
right
doesn't
question?
work that way.
Okay.
The right
What is
question
the era that this...
The right question to ask was when Jackson Pollock did what he did, what was he doing? Was he doing art? And in order to answer that, you have to understand the rules of the game. Now, the only thing that you're missing...
I was picking my nose. I was a 6-year-old picking my nose when he was...
It makes no difference. You can learn this later, like I did. I didn't understand it either until well into my studies.
How very elitist this is.
Yes, of course it is. Art is completely elitist, and it's supposed to be that way. Otherwise, if art were not elitist, then you would consider the works of Beethoven to be on par with the works of this Justin Bieber kid who's barely coming out of his puberty, right? You do not want that. You do not want your culture to put Justin Bieber and Beethoven on the same level. You do not want it. So don't complain and cry baby to me about elitism. You want art to be elitist. You do.
No, I want things to filter through time.
No, you want no. That's a byproduct. That's a test. That's not the essence. Okay, if the essence is there, it will filter through.
Okay, let's sing a song.
Let's sing a song.
Let's sing a song
Yes.
that has withstood the test of time.
Which is?
Let's do Hound Dog. And we should say that this is actually a song that was written by two Jewish boys, Mike Lieber and Jerry Stoller. And a lot of Elvis's hits and other people's hits were written by these two Jewish boys. This is taking us a minute here to get the guitars in place. You ain't nothing but a hound dog, crying all the time. You ain't nothing but a hound dog, crying all the time. Well, you ain't caught a rabbit and you ain't no friend of mine. They said you was high class, that was a lie. They said you was high class, that was just a lie. You ain't caught a rabbit and you ain't no friend of mine. You ain't nothing but a hound dog, crying all the time. You ain't nothing but a hound dog, crying all the time. You ain't caught a rabbit and you ain't no friend of mine.
Now we break the guitars?
Yes, you break yours. And I will break mine after the show. We're here with David Graves here on You've Got Mel in Jingle Time.
הרדיו בינתחומי 106.2 FM
הרדיו בינתחומי
הרדיו החינוכי של המרכז הבינתחומי וכל ישראל
106.2 FM.
Okay, You've Got Mel, and we're here with our producer, Yona Lador. How you doing, Yona?
Doing good. You guys making it fun, for sure, with the hound dog and everything.
So you're enjoying yourself here?
For sure. Yeah.
Okay, it's a retro show for you?
A lot more
two
than
old farts on the radio?
Yeah, a lot more than I will be enjoying my, dentist appointment.
Yeah. Yona's on his way to the dentist after this show. Okay, so, I mean, anything's going to be better than that, right?
Yeah, so you guys are great.
Okay.
That's compared to root canal, we're okay.
We should call ourselves the root canals, the pre-root canals.
I thought it was Mel and the Misfits.
Yeah, okay, so that's my next question. Let's talk about being a misfit. I am going to, we should talk about this after the show. I'm going to New York next week to talk about education. And like yourself, I've spent my whole career in the education system. Kindergarten, grade 1 to 13, because I'm from Ontario. And then Hebrew U, Tel Aviv, lecture, senior lecture, blah, 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 professor, until they let me go. And then I continued to work at some other college. But then I left that one too, to pursue my dream. And so the subject of my talk is what I learned in kindergarten, which is really very little.
Yeah.
But I learned not to trust the school system. So I became a misfit at the age of 5. I was in kindergarten. I was fat. I was Jewish in a completely Gentile school. We were supposed to pray to Jesus every day. They spent a year trying to force me to be right-handed. I was a real misfit. So my contention, I'm going to contend next week, is that actually if you're identified as a misfit early on, you get to preserve yourself, your integrity, your creativity further on down the line. So am I full of shit or not?
Well, okay. If it's my experience, then you're full of shit. But if things have changed lately or recently since my kids or your kids were in kindergarten, then hopefully, yes. I'm a misfit too, and I've been a misfit since nursery school, 4 years old.
Oh, so you were a misfit before, when I was normal,
right,
you were a misfit.
I was and still am fat. I was and still am Jewish, but I was in a Jewish school at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And
nor was I in kindergarten.
I was in a yeshiva.
We had to pray every day to Jesus, and you had to keep your eyes closed.
Yeah.
And the teacher said if you ever opened your eyes, you were going to have a terrible shock. But I knew we didn't believe in Jesus, right? So one day I summoned the courage, and I opened my eyes, and I did get a terrible shock because my teachers were all staring back at me, and I was punished, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I probably had to, bear the cross for the rest of the year or something.
Well, we had other forms of shocking behavior. Actually, the main thing that my experience was that I learned to read very early on, and I learned to read from Dr. Seuss.
That's the best.
The pictures just drove me wild, and I would sit and have my mom read the book again and again, and I would look at them, and I learned to read what's called right hemisphere reading.
Oh.
In other words, I read from
your left hand,
from forms and gestalts and basically pictures.
Mm-hmm.
And it came to nursery school, I could read. And I remember because one day some lady came in and she handed the teacher a note which concerned the teacher very much.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw that she was very, very upset about it. So when she left, she put the note on the table, and I went over and I took the note and I read it.
Mm-hmm.
And it said something about a big word with a V-A-C-C that I didn't understand, but shot I did understand. There were vaccination shots supposed to be given the next week on Wednesday, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I told all the rest of the kids that we're getting shots. So on that day...
It's like a Bill Cosby sketch.
Right, on that day...
Hey, we got promotions.
On that day, half of the kids didn't show up. We were all sick. And they found out something's wrong.
Yeah.
So they looked into it, and they found out that I could read, and that I told everybody else about it, and I was punished. Okay? But when I got to first grade, and they started teaching how to read, the fact that I could already read didn't matter to them. They forced me to read just like everybody else.
Of course.
And that's from the other side of my brain. That's from left hemisphere.
So what did you do?
I got confused.
Uh-huh.
And I'm dyslexic now.
So they dyslexicized
me. Yes, they forced me to read, letter,
You were a perfectly normal misfit.
Yes,
until they got to you.
Right, and then they ruined me. Yes.
Uh-huh.
And so I still they screwed up my reading. It's that simple.
But they didn't screw up your music.
They tried. They sure as hell tried.
Can we hear one of the tracks from David's own CD? Would you like to say a few words about this?
Yeah, this is the story about Uri, who's had it with the rat race, and they fire him. No, put from from that, track 1. There's a little introduction by Avi Kushnil, which tells the story, and then we go into the song, and we'll listen to how much of the song you want to listen to.
Absolutely.
Uh-huh.
David Graves on You've Got Mel.
הרדיו הבינתחומי.
בינתחומי.
106.2 FM.
הרדיו בבינתחומי.
הרדיו החינוכי של המרכז הבינתחומי וכל ישראל.
106.2 FM.
אורי היה סמנכ"ל בכיר בחברת הייטק גדולה, אבל הוא לא אהב את העבודה שלו. הוא רצה מוזיקה, הוא רצה לנגן, הוא רצה לשיר את הבלוז. העבודה התחילה להיראות לו כמוות איטי ובטוח. זה התחיל להפריע לו בעבודה עד כדי כך שביום הולדתו ה-49 הוא פוטר. אורי לא ידע מה לעשות עם עצמו. משפחה, ילדים, משכנתה. הגרוע מכל הוא שאורי בכלל לא רצה לחזור לעבוד. הוא ישב בבית וכתב שירים. בסוף, אורי עזב את הבית. עכשיו הוא מנגן בכיכר.
אורי מנגן בכיכר,
You've got Mel, IDC 106.2 FM. We've moved down 106.2. We used to be 106.4. At this rate, we might get to be 106.1 someday if we're really good. And we're here in the Ulpan, which means the studio, with our special guest, David Graves, who is a polymath. Everybody knows what a polymath is.
I don't know math.
I'll tell you in a minute. And we're here with Yona Lador, who's producing, and he's preparing us a surprise song for later. He's going to choose a rock and roll number to knock our socks off. So, David, we were talking about being a misfit in the school system. My contention is that if you are identified as a complete misfit, because in kindergarten they spent a year trying to teach me to pray to Jesus, and I really wasn't good at that. And they tried to change my left hand to my right hand for a whole year, and they failed. And I have my report card from kindergarten. I'm one of the few people on earth who has my kindergarten report card. And after complaining about me a whole year, they advanced me to grade 1. Melvin has done very well in kindergarten. But I think I did really well in kindergarten because I was such a complete misfit that they gave up on me then. And so for the rest of the school system, I was allowed to be weird, and I was not stuffed into the proverbial sardine tin, where sometimes if you don't fit in, they have to lop your head off.
Your head off, yeah.
But you say that everybody gets lopped off.
Well, I don't know if everybody. I got my head lopped off. My kids got their heads lopped off. Well, one of them fit of his own. The other one didn't fit, and he got his head lopped off. It was tough. I mean, I don't really see that the school system as it is now has the flexibility to handle things which are outside of its current paradigm.
Yes, but the internet does.
Yeah, how's that going to help us?
Well, if school changes radically over the next century, as I think it will, then people will learn more from the internet, which is full of goodies, and less from teachers, which have very limited backgrounds.
I don't know. I'm sure that the internet's going to play its role. It already is playing its role. I don't know if it's going to have that much of an effect on.
Well,
on the school system.
I can go to university today without leaving my home, and 20 years ago I could not do that.
Well, you're talking now about higher education, but if we're talking about lower education, let's not forget the primary function of schools is to be babysitters for working parents. Okay, you can't just stick the kid in front of the internet at home.
No, but you could stick the kid in front of an internet at school.
You could do that, but I think that's just going from bad to worse. The school system is undergoing radical changes, and it has been undergoing these changes for some time. And it's lost. Okay, the school system is no doubt lost. You can see it on all levels, from kindergarten all the way through to when you finish your PhD. When I say the school system is lost, that means that it has no sense of direction, insofar as what do you want to do? Okay, you as a school system, what do you want to do? In the lack of answers we used to have in the past, like I want to give this child an education, and I want him to be a educated and informed individual, and so on. So we don't say that anymore. In the lack of any goal-oriented school system today, what happens is that external goals become the goal of the school system. The most obvious external goal is your career. And nowadays, the school system is become geared more and more towards helping students in a career. That was never the case with school. School was supposed to teach you to be a human being. School was supposed to teach you values. It was supposed to give you tools. It was to do all sorts of wonderful things, which it doesn't really do anymore.
Okay, so if you were running the David Graves Institute for not higher learning, let's say shorter learning, kindergarten through grade 8, what would you do?
I know that's not my. You should ask me higher learning, because that is my field.
Well, we're getting there. So essentially, both of us spent our careers teaching university students.
Yes.
Until I gave up and went back to teaching kindergarten kids, writing books and putting silly things on video. But you're still teaching these students. So after they had their head lopped off when they were 7 or 8 years old, and you get them after the army.
Yes.
So how can you instill some kind of love of...
Well, for the most part...
You are a very popular teacher, by the way.
Right, but for the most part, I can't. For the most part, they just come to me for comic relief, And I just try to do whatever I can. I could say that something in the vicinity of 10 to 15% of whoever's sitting in my class is listening. And they are thirsty. They are really, really thirsty. And that means...
So do you talk to these 10 or 15%?
Yes, I talk to them and they lap it up. They just love it. They are so desperate to get their minds to wrap around something substantial.
So who are these kids? As opposed to the 85% who just want to finish university, get a mark, get a degree, get out of college.
They're kids that are always there. There's always that percentage of kids who are interested in the thing for its own sake. And then there's
is that because of their genetics, because their parents have nurtured them?
Both, I imagine, and other factors. It's not going to be simple. But they're always there. They were there when you were in school. You were one of them. They were there when I was in school. I was one of them.
But I'm contending that I was one of them because from the beginning, it was hopeless to try and fit me into the mainstream of the school system.
Well, for me, I don't know if it was hopeless. I still hold, as far as I know, the record for undergraduate studies at Tel Aviv University in the Department of Philosophy. I beat Croy.
Wow.
I played the game better. My grades were higher. So if you're talking about playing the game, I'm a master. Okay? And because I know how to play the game, I understand also what the game's about and its limitations. And I can try to get what I need out of it. What did I need out of it? Tools. I needed ways of analyzing things. I needed, ways of thinking. I needed methods. I needed knowledge. Okay, so I had to get all these things for myself. And I used the school in order to do it. The rest of the people, okay, and it's true of every department, it's not only philosophy. The vast majority are there because they need this piece of paper that says that they have this certain accreditation so that they can get more money at their job, or they can get a job in the first place. In other words, it's career-oriented.
Right.
Schools were never a means. Schools were an end. Nowadays, they're a means, and that's a mistake. We've made a big, big historical mistake.
By turning it into
turning
vocational.
schools into means. Now, I'm not saying that schools shouldn't or cannot or should not train young persons for a career. We need medical schools, we need law schools, we need economic schools, we need engineering schools. That's fine. All I'm saying is that aside from training for a vocation, which a school can do, an educational system like a higher educational system, or even the regular educational system, has to posit something which is an end in its own right. And education.
Okay, so 1 second. So here, I'm going to drop the bomb, and then we're going to listen to some music. Okay? You spent a career in the college system here in Israel.
Yes.
And I was exposed to it after I took an early pension from Tel Aviv. And I think that the Israeli college system is missing the boat. It's missing the big picture, exactly because of what you say. Because they have the opportunity to provide the education. And I don't think that they're doing it.
I agree, and that I'm trying to fight from within. We need liberal arts colleges. There's no doubt about it.
No, we need liberal arts colleges to be liberal,
exactly,
and to be arts,
that's what we need. I know. I agree with you. Now, there's no reason, by the way, that we can't have
the colleges here are trying their wannabe universities.
Right,
big mistake,
enormous mistake. I know. I don't care who gives the liberal arts education. The universities do it, and the colleges do the vocational training. I really don't care, as long as somebody picks up the ball. There is no problem whatsoever to make your first degree, to make your bachelor's degree, a 4-year program like it is in many, many, many institutions in the States. You make it a 4-year thing, and you've got plenty of time to do both vocational training if you want to be an economist, or you want to be a business manager, or you even want to be a doctor. I really don't care. There's plenty of time for you to get vocational training and to get a liberal arts education.
But everybody here is in a hurry to get a
Right. Well, everybody here should slow down a little bit.
Yeah. So here it is. Here's the message, okay? By and large, even if you think you're getting a profession at your undergraduate level,
yes,
you're not really.
Not at all. And the high-tech bubble is.
I mean, you have a bachelor's degree in communication,
right?
Unless you're somebody really special, you're not going to get a job in communication.
A couple of connections, or if the right person recommends you, then it's good. But just a degree It's like getting a degree in psychology. It's not gonna, you're not sitting on anything.
No,
really.
it's probably less.
It's a check mark.
Less valuable profession-wise than a psychology degree.
I heard a joke was going around with my college out of one of the departments.
We're not going to mention your
We're not
college?
going to mention the college or the department because the joke was that this department produces the finest unemployed graduates in the country.
Exactly. No, here, Yona, you're a young person, so we want to share this with you. Going to university or a college, should be an experience of learning and enriching your life, making you so wide-eyed and bright-eyed that anybody will want to hire you. At universities, it certainly doesn't happen. If you go to a university and you do a BA in ping pong, then you will learn the history of ping pong, the art of ping pong, the anthropology. You'll learn the physics of ping pong.
Sociology of ping pong.
The sociology, the history of ping pong, the Weltanschauung of ping pong, and you'll get a bachelor's degree. But you'll never see a ping pong table, and you'll never hold a matka and be able to play.
Yeah.
And the professors also do not know how to play ping pong, but they've made a degree they've made a career in
ping pongology.
In ping pongology. And here at the IDC, one of the courses that I visited was amazing. If all of them are like this, then I'm going to go and study my BA. Dr. Ori Leshman is giving a course here where he actually, it's about the early Hebrew songs, and he actually has a grand piano and a sound system, and his wife, Maya, who's a singer, actually sings the songs. So you are swept away in the experience of what you're learning. Like if you're studying, it would be like a kid studying Impressionist art and bringing Van Gogh into the.
I did that at Tel Aviv University.
I'm sure that you did. And how long did you last at Tel Aviv University?
I was fired.
There you go. So now it's time for our short quiz. Okay. This is the short quiz, and it's very short. So, and I'm going to translate.
Is it a
now.
short quiz?
It's a short quiz,
okay.
And you're allowed to answer this or that. Are you morning or evening?
Evening.
Okay. iPhone or BlackBerry?
Neither.
Okay. Facebook or MySpace?
Neither.
John Lennon or Mick Jagger?
John Lennon.
John Lennon or Paul Simon?
John Lennon.
John Lennon or James Taylor?
John Lennon until you get to God.
Okay. Espresso or latte?
Espresso.
Okay. Jeans or tux?
Look at me. Jeans.
Italy or Brazil?
Italy.
Okay. Orange or purple?
Purple.
Okay. That's so much for our short quiz.
What did we learn from that?
Nothing.
Okay.
I just love doing it. They told me, I'll tell you what, because they told me when I started the show that I have to have these little corners.
Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, if you said something really sensational, like that you prefer Paul Simon over John Lennon, we could talk about it. But you know that I'm a McCartney person. Mm-hmm. You don't hold that against me.
No, not at all. McCartney's my second favorite.
Okay. Should we talk about the Beatles? Let's sing a song and then we'll talk about the Beatles.
Okay.
Here in the studio, we have our wonderful guest, Dr. David Graves. Oops, I said that word again. Oy vey, everybody. And Yona Lador here is on the console, our producer of the day. And David and I, we have a band with Noam Tzur, and we perform once in a while. And we might even get paid someday for doing it. And we do rock and roll songs. And we are going to do now a song. It's a Doors song, isn't it?
It's a Doors song.
But the cover that I love is Jose Feliciano, who was, he still is probably.
He still is.
Yes, definitely a amazing musician. You know that I would be untrue. You know that I would be lying if I was to say to you, girl, we couldn't get much higher. Come on, baby, light my fire. Come on, baby, light my fire. Yeah, try to set the night on fire. The time to hesitate is through. No time to wallow in the mire. Try now, we can only lose. And our love become a funeral pyre. Come on, baby, light my fire. Come on, baby, light my fire, yeah. Try to set the night on fire. Come on, baby, light my fire. Come on, baby, light my fire, yeah. Try to set the night on fire. Yes. Yes, thank you very much. We have a great audience here. So here with David Graves. So you've given up painting for the most part.
Yes, you have to be totally immersed in order to do it correctly.
Okay.
Properly.
All right. You're still very much active in the academic scene.
Yes.
Teaching a lot.
Yeah.
And the courses you give are?
I give a variety of courses. There's the basics like the introduction to aesthetics, modern theories of art, things like that. But I also do critical thinking. And I also teach courses on mysticism and logic.
Okay, which seem to be totally dichotomous.
Yes.
And they?
Are not.
Come on.
Well, as far as I'm concerned?
Well, give me the 60-second then.
As far as I'm concerned, they're both two sides of the same coin. I have a hypothesis which I call the mystilogue. And it
The mystishu?
The mystilogue.
Mystologue?
Yes,
Well, share it with us.
It says that the more you understand about mysticism, the more you understand about logic, and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
The more you understand about logic, the more you understand about mysticism.
Mm-hmm.
But this is true mysticism. This isn't the crap that we see on the TV or in the papers. You know, astrology, tarot card readings, palmistry, and all that crap.
That's the next show after you've got Mel.
Yeah, that's not mysticism.
Okay.
Okay, mysticism has to do with the experience of unification of the self with the universe.
Okay.
Which doesn't sound much better than the rest of the stuff, but that's the way it is.
Okay. No, but I mean, you can understand illogic by understanding logic. And then saying, okay, illogic is everything that's not logical.
It depends. Many people don't understand what logical is, or what logic has to do with.
So if I want to take a course and understand the connection between logic and mysticism, then I come to your course. But you and I talked about another course about the music of the 60s.
Well, actually, it's not only the music; it's the entire scene of the '60s. Is fascinating. I think the '60s was a unique event in the history of civilization. Period.
Okay, but that's maybe. Do you think so, Yona? We have here a young man in his early 20s.
That the 60s was
unique,
definitely. I mean, what's cool about the 60s and the 70s for me is that it doesn't matter.
We're talking just about the 60s now.
I'm talking about the music in the. Okay, so the 60s.
The 60s ends with Abbey Road.
Okay, so when
Does it not? Does it not?
I don't know. I'm thinking about when Steel Wheels came out.
Okay, all right.
with all the technological advancement, when you put on a song from the 60s, you know it's from the 60s, and you can't recreate that today. And that's amazing to me. That's what I think is cool. So it is unique in my eyes.
That's very cool.
Yes, it is. And by the way, he's right. There's a feel about it that you just cannot recreate. It's something that has to do with everything fitting together. It was the people, it was the environment, it was the times, everything was right. And you got this enormous outpour of creativity, which you see every now and then in history. For example, the High Renaissance in Italy. Okay, Leonardo and Raphael and Michelangelo and all of them together. You saw it in Paris you mentioned the Impressionists. So the end of the 19th century, you see Degas, Monet, Renoir, Van Gogh, all of them together. And in the 60s, you see in the music it happened. You see the Beatles and the Stones, Jefferson Airplane, The Dead, and Bob Dylan. They're all there.
Would there have been music? Would there have been the 60s without the Beatles?
No, there would not have been the 60s without the Beatles.
Okay, and why do you say that?
Because the Beatles invented the voice of the 60s. And the voice of the 60s is rock music. not rock and roll. Rock and roll was the voice of the 50s. Okay? Chuck Berry, Jerry Lee Lewis, Elvis Presley, they're the forefathers, but they're the sound of the 50s. They're the rebellion. They weren't constructive. They were just kicking. They were just kicking ass. They were rebellious. They were against everything. Okay. The Beatles came along, and the Beatles invented something different, something which was rebellious, loud, noisy at one point, but on the other hand, it was constructive. All you need is love. It was musical. It was lyrical.
How did they do it? I mean, we're musicians. I listened to their song. Like, how did they do it?
On the one hand, you can say that what they did was they took. It's the virtual thesis antithesis synthesis model. Okay, if you take the thesis is classical Western music, right? Brahms, Beethoven, Bach.
Yes.
The antithesis is rock and roll. Okay, you put the two together and you get rock.
Oh wow!
And that's what the Beatles did. They put those two together.
That's a very clever thing.
I think it's extremely clever. Now I'm also sure that.
And you invented that?
Yes.
You're a very clever guy.
Oh, thank you.
Is it time for a song?
I think we're coming up on the end of the show. Do you want to do the credits? Say goodbye to everyone. I chose a good song I chose three songs for you, but I got one that's nailed.
Okay, so
now
put it
all
on.
the
So
talk.
we're gonna just say that as always on You've Got Mel, the people we interview are so interesting that the hour just finishes in a second, and they will have to invite you again.
I'll come back. Yes.
And it was a joy having David Graves.
Thank you very much.
And thank you very much, Yona Lador. You were a great producer. And give us your surprise song.
It's been a pleasure. I'd love to do it again. And it's not the Beatles, but it's someone second to God.
The Beatles would not be a surprise.
Okay, so I guess this is not a surprise either.
Surprise us.
Working Class Hero, John Lennon.
Of course.